What's going on there, YouTube? Welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we're going to continue our coverage over the dawn of DC. Now, I know that the dawn of DC is technically over now, right? Like, we're all in the all-in initiative right now that DC has at the moment. But for me, I feel like dawn of DC does lead into the all-in initiative. There could be some things out of Dawn of DC that could lead into the all-in initiative. And so I kind of want to play a tad bit of catching up and cover almost everything of Dawn of DC. Now, so far, we have been covering Action Comics, Green Lantern, but now we're going to sit down and cover some good old Batman and Robin. Now, we also have to remember that there was that period in time where Bruce Wayne and Damian Wayne were not really seeing eye to eye to one another. Now, there were a lot of different reasons why. And one of those reasons, well, the death of Alfred. Because technically, it was Damian's fault that Alfred died, and you had Bane kill off Alfred. Either way, when it came to Bruce and Damian, for a good time there, they were not really able to work together. Now, you did have a few story arcs out there when they did, but again, when those books had ended, those two characters went their separate ways. But when it came to Dawn of DC, you could tell that DC wanted to bring those characters back together and bring back the whole father and son combo. The dynamic duo has to come back. Now, as we go through this series, we're going to see the two characters trying to begin the fresh start between them, but also we're going to learn more about the past of Damian Wayne by bringing in some new characters into the world of DC Comics. Now, the first page of this book kind of shows us that this book is going to be about animals. And the reason why, because you have somebody kind of talking about the idea of animals in Gotham City kind of ruining the entire city. It's time to make some changes in Gotham. And we also see this person working in some kind of lab, but also working on different kinds of animals. But getting over to Batman and Robin, we actually see the two characters going after another character known as White Rabbit. Now, when it comes to White Rabbit, it kind of plays in the whole idea of Alice in Wonderland. But we do see her currently holding a bunch of people hostage on a Zeppelin. Now, here's the thing. This scene right here only lasts about 3 pages long. And the reason why, because we're trying to show that Batman and Robin can actually work together and bring down bad guys at a faster rate. And so in 3 pages, you have our two heroes being able to stop her and free the hostages just like that. Now, after that, you have our two characters go back home. Now, remember, for Batman, Bruce Wayne, he's broke. Now, he's not broke, but he's somewhat broke. But either way, he lives in a brownstone right now. And so this is kind of huge. And the reason why, because you're now going to have Damian moving back in, but there's no Alfred there. And for Alfred, he plays a huge role when it comes to him being like the middleman between Batman and Robin. He was kind of there to ease things between the two characters. But now Alfred is no longer around. And so for Bruce, he has to be that father figure for Damian Wayne without any kind of backup at all. He gotta be that single father now. And so for Bruce, you could tell that he realized that. He wants to make amends with his son. He's all like, hey, Damian, you know what? With you being back here, we got to sit down and talk, because there was a good period of time where you and I were not talking to one another like we should had. And so here we are now living together. Let's go ahead and sit down and talk some things out. But for Damian, no, because to Damian, it kind of shows that he's not really trying to have that heart-to-heart moment at the moment. Like, yes, they are father and son. They are Batman and Robin. And for him, that's okay. But the whole idea of being like father and son having heart-to-heart moment, he's not really ready for that just yet. And so you have Damian just go ahead and close his bedroom door to say, hey, listen, I want to lay down for the night to get my body ready just in case we got to go back out there in Gotham to help out more people. Now, like I said a moment ago, the whole idea of Alfred being that middleman for Bruce and also Damian, it really shows, because the following morning you have Bruce wake up, Damian is already awake and making breakfast, but also tea as well. making tea just like Alfred did. As a matter of fact, it's Damian getting on Bruce on how he handles his tea. Because again, for Damian, he was with Alfred a lot. He learned a lot of things from Alfred over the years. Now, with that being said, for Bruce Wayne, he's like, listen, it's great to have you back here, but we're going to need some ground rules. Starting off with the idea that you need to go back to school, my dude. Now, for Damian, he does not want to go to school at all. And the reason why, because he's just so smart that he could easily pass any class in any school across the world in a matter of like hours and be done. But for Bruce, it's like, no. We got to make sure the world does not know that Bruce Wayne and his son Damian Wayne is not Batman and Robin. You got to have a normal life. But it's also Bruce saying like, listen, I heard that you were able to make friends out there on Lazarus Island. I want you now to make friends here in Gotham City as well. People your own age. Now for Robin, he does have another reason why he does not want to go to school. He wants to be Robin all the time and handling problems in Gotham City. Like, for example, there have been different science labs across Gotham that have been broken into. Tech has been stolen left and right. Now, for Robin, he tells Bruce that, listen, while you're trying to sleep in, I looked over that case and I realized that some of the equipment that was stolen belongs to a guy who was actually a hostage of White Rabbit the previous night. And his name is Dr. Kafira. Now, Dr. Kafira is going to be somewhat important for this story arc, but for Batman and Robin, that means they need to go pay him a visit. Now, when our heroes do arrive at the home of the Doctor, they realize that he's being kidnapped by a group of different villains. So you have Killer Croc, Man-Bat, Orca, and the Terrible Trio. Now, Man-Bat begins to fly away with the Doctor, and so you have Batman go after Man-Bat. Now, I want to shift our focus over to the Terrible Trio. Here's the reason why. Because the Terrible Trio, just bad guys, regular humans who wear animal masks when they're out there committing crimes in Gotham City. Now, like I said, they wear animal masks. And so for Robin, he's all like, hey, guys, go ahead and take off your masks right now because I know who you are under them. But this time, they're not wearing masks. It kind of seems like somebody had played with their DNA and fused their DNA with animal DNA. Now, when it comes to the Doctor, he's really big when it comes to DNA stuff in labs. And so we're kind of left to believe in the possibility that maybe his research has done something to the Terrible Trio. Now, you have Batman calling into Robin. Now, remember, he went after Man-Bat to hopefully save the Doctor, but it's Bruce Wayne calling out for his son, like something is really wrong. By the time you have Damian being able to get to the roof, he realized that Batman was hit with some kind of gas. And that gas is now attracting all the different bats in Gotham City. And all those bats right now are trying to attack one person. And that would be, well, Batman. Now, as we get into the second chapter, before we are able to see Batman kind of handle that situation with the bats, we actually jump back in time and we see Robin still with Talia al Ghul and Ra's al Ghul, but being trained by one of his many teachers. Now, we do learn that her name is Mistress Harsh. Now, honestly, that name right there is kind of funny to me because the way she is acting, she is harsh. Her thing is that she wants Damian to have no feelings at all because as we go back in time to see this flashback, we're seeing a young Damian look at a bat and calling the bat cute. And it really does bother her because to her, bats are demons, but also for him to be one of the best assassins in the world to take his grandfather's place, he has to be heartless. He cannot have any feelings at all. And so she kills the bat in front of him. Now for Damian, he does get upset, but she says, if you cared so much, you would have tried to stop me. But here's the problem though. Your feelings got in the way. And because of your feelings, it slowed you down, allowing the bat to die. But now we are able to dive back to the present day where we do pick up with Batman still being chased down or somewhat attacked by all the different bats in Gotham City. Now, for Damian and also Bruce Wayne, they don't realize they're being watched by somebody, a new character. Now, at first, we're kind of left to believe that this character is going to be the daughter for one of the many bad guys of Batman, but it seems like she's not going to be. But apparently, she says that Batman has stolen the symbol of the bat. Now, before we are able to explore that, we jump back over to Batman actually finding a way to get rid of all the bats by using some kind of repellent, because he remembered a time where his mom had placed this kind of repellent around the house, the manor, to keep the bats away. So he took that and turned it into a smoke bomb to get rid of all the bats. Now, for Batman and Robin, they can go back home, but unfortunately, the doctor has been taken away by the group of bad guys. Now, we do learn that somebody is really in charge of the entire group of bad guys, with that person kind of hiding in the shadows. Now, the newest character, I'm going to tell you right now, her name is Shush. She kind of tells us that she's trying to turn the symbol against Batman, basically saying that I want all the bats to attack him because he stole that symbol away from the city. Now, Killer Croc, he does leave the group, and the reason why, because we're going to see him over in the Poison Ivy series that was coming out in his time in DC Comics. So he leaves the group, but the rest of the characters stay around. Now, we're kind of left to believe that something had happened to Man-Bat in the last chapter because he's also no longer around. So right now it's just Shush, Orca in the terrible trio, and also our mysterious character who's in charge of the entire group. Now, when we jump back over to Batman and Robin, they're back at the Batcave underneath the brownstone. Now, this is another moment where we do see Damian Wayne kind of taking what he learned from Alfred, but it's also showing us that for Damian, he had close connections or close ties to Alfred. Because again, Alfred was that middleman between him and Bruce Wayne. But with that being said, you have Damian being able to stitch up Bruce Wayne, but also tell Bruce that he was affected by some kind of gas that's going to be around him for a good while that could attract the different bats over to him. And so you had Damian say, listen, until we're able to figure out what to do with the bat problem, you can't go out at night. You got to stay home and rest at least. Now for Bruce, he agrees. But he also tells Damian, like, yeah, you're right, I got to rest, but so do you, because in the morning, you're going to go to school. We see Damian Wayne going to school. Now, for Damian, we already know the man truly hates the idea of going to school. But as soon as he gets to his class, he runs into his classroom bully. Now, here's the thing. Damian, we already know, Damian could easily taken care of this bully. But remember, he has to keep a low profile. And so is Damian like, you know what? Let me not beat you down for picking on me because I have a love for manga. But either way, while you have Damian staring down this bully, well, that is when he's introduced to the actual principal of the school. And that would be Principal Stone. Now, we also kind of see that Principal Stone might know Damian and Damian might know her as well. But he also introduced to his teacher as well, and that will be Miss Hall. Now, after you have the two ladies being able to calm down Damian and the bully, by the time they look around for class, well, Damian had left the school completely. And the reason why? Because again, he wants to be Robin. He wants to figure out who could possibly be behind this new group of bad guys in Gotham City. And so he heads over to the GCPD to go interrogate White Rabbit, except when he gets there, well, Batman is there as well because Batman found out that Damian has skipped school and knew where he'll be at next, which is the prison cell for White Rabbit. Now, our heroes realize that that maybe, just maybe, she has information about who had hired her. And so if they're able to interrogate her, they can learn what's actually going on in Gotham City. But here comes the big problem. You see, when they do walk into her cell, she's being held being held as a hostage at gunpoint by our new character known as Shush. Now, as we get into the third chapter, just like the second chapter, we do get another flashback. Now, this flashback is really more about when Damian first joined Bruce Wayne to live at Wayne Manor. And back then, when it came to Damian, he truly believed that he knew everything. Like, there was nothing else left for him to learn. And so, because of that, you had Alfred and Bruce trying to tell Damian that you are completely wrong. That when it comes to life, there's always room to learn more things about different things when it comes to living on Earth. And so that moment right there kind of shows that it began the process of Alfred beginning to teach Damian different things about life, like tea. But getting back over to the present day, we do pick up with Batman and Robin fighting against Shush and also, well, the Terrible Trio. Now, Batman, he goes after our new character, and the reason why, because she looks very similar to Hush. And so for Batman, he believes that she's working with Hush. Now, like I said, at first, you would believe in the possibility that this is going to be DC trying to hold she is the lost daughter of Hush or something like that, or she has some huge connections to Hush. But in reality, right now, in these pages, she's not working for him at all. And matter of fact, when you have Batman being able to lock her up in a cell, you have her say, listen, you may have me locked up, but I have placed bombs all around the building. And sooner or later, this place is going to blow up. And on top of that, there are still innocent people like guards in the building you probably want to save. So while you have Batman trying to handle the bombs, you still have Robin trying to help out White Rabbit to fight against the Terrible Trio. Now, technically, the two characters are able to work together to bring down the Terrible Trio. But here comes the problem. You see, Shush was able to break out of her cell that Batman had put her in. And so she has guns and she starts shooting up the place. And so she was able to grab White Rabbit and get out of the building, but also making sure that Robin was pinned down. And so you have Damian call up Bruce like, hey, they got the White Rabbit. Now for Batman, like I said, he's trying his best to handle the bombs, which he was able to do. But you do have our two heroes being able to regroup outside the building. Now you do have our heroes go their separate ways because you do have Batman being able to follow Shush in a different vehicle while holding on to White Rabbit, and you have Robin trying to follow behind Terrible Trio back to the base of the bad guys. Now, when it comes to Batman, we do see him being able to chase down Shush, and but also blowing up her vehicle. She does survive, but still also being able to grab White Rabbit and get her away from Shush. Now, for Batman, he wants to know who is the actual leader of the group, because again, he still believes it could be Hush, it could be Tommy, his old childhood friend. But as we jump over to Robin, we learn that no, it's not Hush at all. Now, like I said earlier, Killer Croc left, but the reason why he left because, well, he's over in the Poison Ivy book. But Man-Bat, we were kind of left to believe that something had happened to him, because earlier we saw Man-Bat try to fly away with the Doctor, and the Doctor is there with the Terrible Trio. Well, we come to find out the actual leader of the group is Man-Bat. Man-Bat is the leader of the group, and right now it's him trying to get rid of Batman, claiming that Batman has stole the symbol of Gotham. But as we get into the final chapter, we get another flashback. Now, this flashback is really more of us seeing Robin once again being trained by the League, but also being trained by Mistress Harsh. Now, remember, she's a new character, but she's trying to basically have Robin not have feelings at all. And it kind of shows why Damian is like that because of her. And so in one of their training sessions, while he's fighting against a group of ninjas, she's asking him questions, and he is able to answer every single question correctly, and also being able to take down all the enemies that was thrown at him all at once. But she says horrible, and the reason why, he moves too slow, and she begins to talk down to him. Now for Robin, she has no right to talk down to him because she is just his teacher, a servant basically when it comes to her place in the league. And so she hated the idea that he snapped back at her and talked down to her. And so she slaps him right in the face. As she does that, Talia appears. Now for Talia, she hates the idea that somebody just touched her son. And when it comes to Mistress Harsh, she has no permission to touch the son of Talia al Ghul. And so for that, she has to be punished. But it's up to Damien to decide if she should be punished. And so for Damien, he's all like, yeah, I'm done with her. Get her out of here. Now for Mistress Harsh, she hates the idea that Damien had decided her punishment. Now we're kind of left to believe that she was killed off, but it's comics. We already know she's not dead, and you'll see who she is at the very end of this video. But as we get back into the present day, this is where I kind of say the story falls apart, because even though it is Man-Bat kind of being used as this mastermind type bad guy, again, this is where the story falls apart, because you have Man-Bat tell Robin that when it comes to Gotham, Gotham has been home to many bats for many years. And so it kind of felt like that Gotham symbol was the bats, but also seemed like Gotham was calling out for a hero. And so they got Batman. But for Man-Bat, he's saying that actually Batman is the pretender. He stole that symbol. He had no right to actually steal that symbol. That technically it should have been Man-Bat as the hero of Gotham City. And so his goal now is to get rid of Batman and then be the new hero of Gotham City. That's why I say the story kind of falls apart. I'm like, why would we do this to this character? Because honestly, it makes sense, yes, but like it's kind of not that great for me. But hey, the story goes on. Either way, you do have Batman appear to save Robin, and it leads into a battle in good versus evil. Now, we can't forget that earlier when it came to Batman, that he was affected by some kind of gas that basically attracts the bats of Gotham. And so when he does arrive at the battle, it's now him being attacked by a group of bats all at once again. Now, while that's happening, you have Man-Bat grab Shush and they try to get away, which they do get away actually. But then you have Batman being able to kind of get rid of all the bats once again. They save White Rabbit and they also save the Doctor as well. But now the question is, when is Man-Bat going to come back and try to attack our heroes again in this series? Now, as you had the story begin to wind down, we do see the Doctor tell Batman and Robin that he's very concerned for the Terrible Trio. And the reason why, because earlier I had mentioned the fact that when it came to the Terrible Trio, originally they were just humans who would commit crimes in Gotham, but they would wear animal masks. Well, it seems like that Man-Bat had did something to their DNA to the point where now technically they're acting more like animals, and they're becoming full of rage as well. And the question is right now, has Man-Bat done this to other people out there across Gotham City? And if he does, where are they? But on top of that, will he continue these kinds of experiments in Gotham City? Now, as we jump over to the final part of the book, we do see Bruce Wayne walking Damian back over to school like, hey, you're going to stay here. Like, you're going to school no matter what. But when they do arrive, you have Bruce Wayne run into Miss Hall. Now, at first, I believe that Miss Hall was actually Mistress Harsh from Damian's past. But Damian says, no, it's actually the Principal Stone, which means that the next story arc could be some issues down the road between him and his principal. But this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.